Zimbabwe 1980, freedom won after a long war. This is Freedom Files, the untold story of how nations broke their chains. Long before it was called Zimbabwe, this land was home to great African civilizations. The stone cities of Great Zimbabwe stood as proof of African statehood, trade, and ingenuity, centuries before Europe arrived. But in the late 1800s, that history was buried beneath empire. British settlers, led by Cecil Rhodes and backed by the British South Africa Company, seized the land. African communities were pushed off fertile soil and forced into labor. Political power was reserved for a white minority. The colony was named Rhodesia, not after its people but after the man who claimed it. Africans resisted from the beginning, but resistance was crushed. Over time, white settlers tightened their grip, declaring unilateral independence from Britain in 1965 to preserve white rule. Rhodesia became an international pariah, but inside the country something was growing: African nationalism. Two major liberation movements emerged: ZANU and ZAPU. Their fighters crossed borders, trained in camps, and waged a guerrilla war against one of the most heavily armed regimes in Africa. The conflict became known as the Rhodesian Bush War. It was not fought in open fields. It was fought in villages, forests, and hearts. Farmers became fighters. Songs became weapons. The war dragged on through the 1970s. Sanctions weakened the white regime. Casualties mounted. Pressure increased from neighboring African nations and the international community. Finally, in 1979, negotiations were forced. At the Lancaster House Conference in London, a settlement was reached. Elections would be held. Majority rule would be accepted. In 1980, Zimbabwe was born. The flag of Rhodesia came down. The flag of Zimbabwe rose. Robert Mugabe became the country's first prime minister. Crowds celebrated, Africa celebrated. Another chain had fallen, but Zimbabwe's freedom carried complexity. The war had left deep scars. Ethnic tensions remained. Land redistribution, long delayed, would later shake the nation. Hope and hardship walked side by side. Zimbabwe's story reminds us that freedom won through war brings pride, but also responsibility. Victory does not end struggle, it changes it. Freedom gained through sacrifice must be guarded with wisdom. Breaking chains is only the first step. Building justice is the harder journey.